team, welcome to the TeamCPNZ Quick Connect podcast, where you can stay informed, keep connected and learn from one another along the way. I'm your team captain, Richard Greer, and on today the show we've got Alice Buchanan, who on the weekend completed the True West Adventure Race, which was held down the South Westland out of Haast. So she was racing along with teammates Stephen Muff, Andrew Davidson and husband Liam Buchanan. So looking forward to hear about their event, how they got on and their debut adventure race. Not just any adventure race, Nathan Favre runs it. And they took on the 48-hour version. So a bit of sleep lost and some adventures to be had. So we're going to talk to Alice about that, but also about her build-up. It wasn't smooth sailing by any stretch. She broke her hand and then also was playing with a hamstring that was trying to be rehabbed along the way. So making to the start line, as we always know, is often the hardest bit. So Alice has done super well to do that. But before we get to Alice, we're actually listening to episode 26 of the Quick Connect podcast, and number 171 of these podcasts we've done over the last few years. A couple of updates. We sent out the Motivator newsletter a couple of days ago. So if you don't get that, that'd be worthwhile maybe jumping onto our website, scrolling down to the bottom and adding your name to the list. There's a lot of different updates that we send out in that. Number one is our knarly shop is open, and backed by popular demand is the teal option of our clothing. So if that's something that you would be after, jump onto that. We've also added a couple of extra pieces of kit thanks to knarly, which is a singlet, a running singlet, and then also a long sleeve top for those people like me that don't do very well in the sun for too long. So I think orders need to be in the next week or two. So follow that one up. What else is going on? Adventure Squad's coming up for all those that want a bit of an event, but it's not really an event, but an adventure out with a group of others adventuring around the hills. Dates for those: Sunday the 4th of May is the first one, Sunday the 8th of June about 6 weeks later, and a final one deep into July the 20th on a Sunday. So that's happening as well. There's a bunch of stuff happening this weekend, so all the best for those people that are lining up for Motatapu this weekend, heading down there. I'm heading down there as well, which will be fun. And we've also got our Coronet Loop sort of mountain bike ride if you're heading down that way. We've got a clan of people up in Ironman New Zealand and Taupo this week, so looking forward to following their progress, doing the 70.3 and also the full version. So all the best to those people that have trained super hard and going to give that a crack as well. On a smaller scale, Lake Canary Triathlon is on, a multi-sport race just out of Hokitika, so all the best for those people that are heading across there. So lots on as per normal, and as I mentioned, over the last few weeks we've had so much different stuff and lots of different adventures and experiences had. And over the next little while we'll just keep chipping away and trying to share some of those stories as we go. But without further ado, let's get Alice on the show and see if she's caught up on some of that sleep. Alice, how are you getting on?
Hi Richard, yeah, good, thank you.
That's the story. How's the recovery for you? What are we now? It was Friday, Saturday kind of thing of an event, and now we're the following week. How are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good actually. Definitely still a little bit fatigued. The legs are still a bit tired, but generally recovering sort of as expected, I guess. Nice.
So let's jump back right to the start in terms of, as I mentioned in the build-up, a bit of a spanner in the works, you might say. It managed to fall off your mountain bike, I think it was, wasn't it, and hurt your hand. Tell us about that, when that was and how that affected you.
Yes, so start of December, I was doing a local race series at Crocodile Park, meant to be a little bit of fun, and it was fun for the first 5 minutes. I just took a dusty corner a little bit wrong and over the bars, and unfortunately I landed on my hand, which wasn't a great outcome, and broke it. So I ended up in a cast for 4 weeks. Which right at the point when we were hoping to ramp up my training, ended up pretty much coming to a standstill for a while. But it's recovered surprisingly well, and I think come race day was probably better than I would have hoped when I originally did the injury.
Okay, that's awesome. December's not great, is it? The bit of that red mist whipping around the corner a little bit fast, not really where you want to be. As you say, throw a spanner in the works in terms of your build-up, unfortunately. But also, did you have a matching injury with your husband, Liam, as well?
Yeah, so Liam, about 2 weeks before me, also fell off his mountain bike at Crocodile Park, not racing, but he also broke his hand, managed to somehow, ironically, broke the same bone in the same hand. falling off a bike. So yeah, that wasn't ideal for him either.
No, that's not good. So how did you guys go? Was he always a couple of weeks ahead of you, or were the breaks about the same or a bit different?
Fortunately, he was only in a cast for about a week. So by the time I broke my hand, he was out of his cast and back driving, which was good because it would have been a right pain if neither of us had been able to drive. So yeah, his recovery was sort of a couple of weeks ahead of mine, but definitely limited activities for both of us for a while.
Yeah, that's what you almost need some home help to peel the spuds and stuff in your house. Oh, that's pretty rough, isn't it? And then also Caden Shields, one of our physios that we refer to, was helping out with sort of getting your hamstrings going again and trying to get your running going. It was like, let's do some biking because we can. And then we're slowly starting to introduce the running. So how did that go for you?
Yeah, so that was a little bit earlier in the year, just a small tear in the hamstring. And we sort of, with the excited Walker 100 as well. So in the lead up to that, we'd put a little bit of a handbrake on the running just to make sure my biking was where it needed to be. And yeah, that the timing of reintroducing the running and then breaking the hand wasn't ideal. But yeah, keen to get back into some more running now as well, because it's been a while since I went for a long run.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, right. So you were going to do coast to coast as a team, I think a relay team with Liam, weren't you? But that sort of, we put a line through that. You could have almost done it, but you wouldn't have been able to do virtually any training for it.
Yeah, no, we decided to pull pin on that one. At the point of coast, I hadn't been in my kayak for probably 8 weeks, or since before I broke my hand, and literally got into the boat for the first time that week. And we just made the call that paddling 70k through the gorge, having only just come back, probably wasn't the best rehab. And especially with True West only 2 weeks later, I didn't want to upset it doing coast 2 weeks before True West.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your build-up. Your build-up was about going on some missions, wasn't it? But across doing some tramping and hiking and hunting and things. What was your New Year's plans? Tell us about that in terms of your tramping and things.
Yeah, so over New Year's, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be out of my cast or not. So I was a little bit limited when I was trying to plan activity, but booked myself to go do the Heafy track, which was an awesome walk. Looking for something that had a bit of distance, but without too much technicality. And fortunately, I came out of the cast the day before I left. So it was good to be free of that at least. But yeah, just some good long days on the trail. And then since then had a few more good weekend missions in kind of the Lewis Pass area, and bit of tramping, bit of hunting, which actually was great training.
Yeah, so you actually did that Heafy track solo. I booked you into, and what was Liam doing across that time? Was his hand there so he could do more?
Yeah, well, originally we were meant to be on a pack crafting trip with some friends. But at that point, Liam was just able to get back in the pack craft, so he could still go. But unfortunately, I wasn't up to holding a paddle. So had to last minute scramble and make some alternative plans.
Right. Okay. Well, you've Liam's done well to continue to go and have fun without you with your broken hand. That's a couple of weeks different anyway. And you to go out and I'm just going to walk the Heafy track. That's pretty impressive.
It was a good trip.
Nice. And just recently, prior to the race, you guys have been, like Liam's right into his hunting to get up and into the hills, up and around the Lewis tops and things like that, I think you were?
No, we did a couple of trips and we managed to get Andy, to True West teammate, to come along one weekend as well, which was great to get some time together as nearly the full team, and just, some good quality time in the hills. Nice.
And did that mean that Andy was the guy that was carrying out the deer, the venison?
He did have a heavy pack on the way home.
Yeah, good. And did that transfer into the race? Did Andy? He's a big guy. He definitely puts a few watts out in terms of his biking. Did that mean that he was utilised in the race as well?
Definitely utilised on the bike legs. We while we were racing, we actually had a broken derailleur on the first stage. So we made great use of Andy's power on the bike. We had the rope tow or the bungee tow on the back of the bike with the dog lead, and he did a great job of towing Steve along. So definitely made use of his power there.
Oh, right. That's awesome. So tell us about it. Tell us about the event. When did it start? Where was it? Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so the race was down in Haast, at the very bottom of the west coast. Absolutely amazing spot and some amazing terrain that we got to explore. Pretty early morning. We started at 3 a.m. So actually going into a 48-hour race with not a great night's sleep the night before. But yeah, no, started, and the first leg was a bike ride down the road and then down a gravel road heading south of Hurst. All going pretty smoothly, mainly riding as a big bunch until 3K from the end. Unfortunately, Steve derailleur broke and we just couldn't get it to hold a gear. Downhill from there to the TA. So we made the call, given that it was would have been 5-6 in the morning and it was still dark. We were like, we'll just get to TA and then we'll work it out when we come back in the daylight. But it wasn't the ideal start when at that point we'd probably still got another 90 Ks of biking to go in the race. And then the next stage was a pack craft down the Cascade River, which was really cool scenery, beautiful river, somewhere that we were pretty lucky to get to explore. So it was about 20K or so in the pack craft, and then we hiked back across the Cascade
Plateau. Was it technical? Was it just completely flat, or was there some rapids in it?
No, the Cascade was pretty flat. I think higher up the river there probably are some rapids, but the section we did was going out towards the coast and was flat water. But beautiful scenery.
Okay, so what time of the day are we now?
We probably started the paddle at about 6 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So it got light while we were on the river. Yeah,
cool. Okay. And then what's after that? What's next?
So we had a hiking stage, and it was probably the sort of crux stage of the race. So we hiked up the hill and then along the Cascade Plateau back to where we'd started the pack craft. Amazing place, stunning views, but really brutal terrain. There was not a huge amount of elevation gain considering the distance, but it was just sort of lots of little ups and downs, swamp, thick scrub, and some sort of navigation choices to make along the way as well, which some of ours were good and some of them less so.
And that just sounds like a recipe for disaster in my navigation anyway, in terms of not really much contours and things to play with. You'd need to be on the compass and trying to take bearings and trying to take some straight lines from one point to the next, I'd imagine.
Yeah, a little bit of that, and just generally there was sort of only two checkpoints. So there was one at one side of the plateau and one right at the other end, sort of 20 Ks away. So we had a lot of free rein in the middle to do different route choices, and there were some, I think, varying choices from different teams. And I think most of the time we had a general feeling for the general direction of where we want to go, but the challenge was actually working out where the easiest terrain to move through was, and a combination of the fastest route or the most direct route wasn't necessarily the best terrain in terms of the scrub and the bush. But yeah, no, it was a good challenge. I think we all had some highs and lows, and we all fell over a few times in some swampy bits. And
Who's first? So taking up, I know swampy bit back this way, team around this side, and bush bashing. How thick was it? The scrub
in places pretty thick, and we all ended up some good scratches on the knees and things, just from pushing through. And there was scrub, and in places cutty grass and all sorts of things to kind of clamber through. It was a good challenge.
How long did that stage take?
I think we were just over 11 hours on the hike. So it was a reasonably big.
That's
about 26 Ks, I think, total, but reasonably slow moving in places.
Yeah, a couple of Ks an hour if you're doing well. Yeah, when you think about walking along to work or whatever, that's not particularly quick. So battling along there. So what time of the day are you finishing that?
We managed to finish just in daylight, which was our goal. We wanted to be off the hike before it got dark, because that was just going to make it harder. So I think we would have been sort of, 8-9 o'clock, something like that, when we came off the hike.
So what's next?
And so it was back on the bikes. Liam and Steve had a good look at Steve's derailleur, and they managed to rig him up as single speed. They used a bit of string to kind of keep the derailleur so it would at least hold one gear. And so a combination of that plus a bit of help on the toe, mainly from Andy, got Steve back on the bike and moving. And a reasonably short bike ride to Lake Ellery, which was beautiful lake, and we kind of arrived there just as it was just as it got dark.
Cool. And what's the weather doing? Are we raining? Are we sunny? What's going on?
Up until that point, it had been pretty nice. Sunny, but not too hot. Pretty good racing conditions. While we were on the lake, obviously it was dark, and then it started raining. So we had a reasonably cold and wet paddle on the lake, and the rain made the navigation significantly harder as well. Being dark when you've got your head torch on, your light was just reflecting off the rain, so it was actually really tricky to make nav choices, and we did make a few poor route choices. There was a checkpoint up a river, and we did go up the wrong river to start with, and then kind of looped around and figured out where we were going. So few challenges on the lake, and it was pretty cold in the rain as well.
Yeah, right. So you pretty much got your eyes closed, haven't you, with all that like dark plus rain and the cold, and you're just trying to feel around the like in the middle of a lake as well to try and get to the right point. So that's pretty impressive. Who was navigating?
Liam did the majority, and then he was well supported by Andy as well.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And how was that during the race? Because that's obviously tricky sometimes. Like if you got the maps, you know where you are. You know how to pace yourself. You know sort of how much energy to expend. Whereas if you don't have the maps and don't really have a good idea, how did that go with in terms of the roles of the team and how you were feeling across the course of the time you were out there?
Yeah, good. Andy and I sort of both had maps at different times, so had a sort of an idea of where we were and how we were tracking. And then Steve had responsibility for the punch card, which is a crucial role as well in the team, making sure we've actually
don't lose it, Steve.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we sort of all had an idea of where we were going and how far the stage was to at least kind of judge a bit of pace and things. And we all had highs and lows at different points when we'd sort of maybe not managed our energy intake so well, either over or under nutritioned. And so it was a bit of just balancing of that as to who was feeling good and who was feeling sort of a bit poorer at different stages of the race.
Yeah. And how did the nutrition go? We did talk about this beforehand. It's about options and variety is a big part of it. But how did you guys go in terms of helping each other out? And probably the next question that I'm going to ask you as well is what was your favourite bit of food that you had during? So how did your nutrition go?
I think for me personally, it went reasonably well. I was relatively happy. I think if I was to do it again, I'd probably go more savoury food because you got pretty tired of the sugary stuff reasonably quickly. Having said that, I'd got a few kind of treats and things along the way. So a few like mini Mars bars and different things, which actually some of them were quite good, just something to look forward to brighten up the mood when you're cold or when you're feeling a bit down. But yeah, the best things was probably the savoury things. And we had a bit of a debrief after as a team, and we all wish we'd taken more savoury options, things like cold pizza or different things just to give us a bit of a variety of options there.
Yeah, that's right. Were you guys sharing food or just reminding each other to eat? How did that one go?
Yeah, a little bit of sharing. A few of us carried some lollies and we did share a few different things around at times. But we predominantly packed sort of what each of us wanted and then just a few small things to kind of share.
Yeah, nice. So what was your favourite thing that you pulled out of the bag and got, oh, thank goodness I've got this? How good?
I have to say at one point, really boring, but a Marmite sandwich because it was just, it was something savoury and something slightly more filling and not a very exciting food option, but easy to eat and a savoury option.
And custard squares, were any of those considered into the packing list?
Yeah, no custard squares. I'm not sure how well they'd have coped with the adventure.
No. You want to get them done early, probably even on the start line. So what happened after that? So you're on the lake in the middle of the dark in the rain. What's going on next?
Yeah, so we managed to finish the lake paddle and it was still, I don't know what time it would have been, maybe 2-3 a.m., something like that when we got off the lake.
Saturday morning now,
Saturday morning, So next stage was a bike ride. And I think we all sort of noticed and reflected afterwards, coming off that transition in the middle of the night when we're tired and we were cold, we were pretty slow through that transition, and just your brain, you just couldn't think quite as clearly as normal, and a bit more kind of forgetful and just things were slow. But got on the bikes. I drank quite a lot of caffeine at this point, so I was feeling pretty strong. But I think a couple of boys were probably a bit more tired.
Okay.
But definitely amazing. We were riding along at one point and I was drafting behind, watching the wheel in front of me. And I was like, if I watch this wheel for too much longer, I'm actually going to fall asleep because it's quite mesmerizing just seeing that wheel going round. But no, bit of fresh air in the face and lots of caffeine fixed that problem.
Yeah, good stuff. That's the story. And was that just like, it was a gravel road? What are you riding on? Or was it tricky terrain?
No, gravel road and then some tarmac for a while. And then down some more kind of gravel, private sort of farm tracks and stuff to get to the next checkpoint.
Cool. And what else have you got left on the cards at this stage? And how is the team tracking? How are you guys going?
Yeah, going well. I think on that middle bike ride, I was probably feeling the strongest and probably largely driven by that caffeine intake that I'd had. I was riding along at the front of the bunch, sort of shouting, "Let's go," and whooping and hollering. And I'm not sure whether the others in the team enjoyed the enthusiasm or maybe found it a little bit too much.
Just wanted to throw something at you. It's like, oh, you're making me feel worse because you're so good, and that makes me so bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I talked about making sure that you had a tow rope on as well, like because you're a pretty strong cyclist. Did that mean that you should have been towing Andy or one of the other guys at that stage?
I'm not sure whether quite towing them because they're all very strong cyclists.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely sort of went on the front to take the wind for a while and things. Yeah. So yeah.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So how much of the race you got left and how are you guys placed at this stage?
Most of the race we were kind of sat around 11th, 12th. And from the start of the hike that didn't change a huge amount. We sort of held that position pretty much. But yeah, the next stage was a hike stage. So we hiked up the Okura River Valley, which was beautiful scenery. We started the hike sort of just on or just after daylight, so back into some sunshine, which was great to kind of wake everybody up again. And the rain had stopped overnight as well, so it turned into a really nice day.
Nice.
And yeah, just some beautiful, some of the side streams had amazing kind of waterfalls coming down them and some big kind of sheer cliffs and things around to look at.
Amazing. Cool. And how long did that next stage take? And was the navigation all right?
Yeah, that stage was reasonably straightforward navigation wise, particularly as we were doing it in the daylight. So I think we were about just over 4 hours or so on that hike, maybe 4.5. And then we had the stage, which was definitely the highlight of all of our races. And I'd be surprised if it wasn't the highlight of everybody that did the races. We did a pack craft back down the Okuru River to the transition. And there was some pretty solid grade 3 whitewater. So it was a lot of fun with pack crafts.
Wow. So you guys are good paddlers, aren't you? You, Alice, so you and Liam, that's kind of your background really, isn't it? Like good whitewater paddling. How did you guys go? How did you split yourselves between the boats, etc. as well?
Yeah, so Liam and I paddled together. We have a bit more whitewater experience, but Andy and Steve are pretty strong in the boat from a fitness and from a sort of Steve's just come off coast to coast, so he's been doing a lot of paddling for that and definitely had the most kayak fitness in the team. So yeah, Liam and I went first for the majority of the rapids, and then Steve and Andy in the second boat. And yeah, bit of fun. A few times when we maybe didn't see rocks till the last minute, and just sort of made it through. And Liam and I did actually take one swim on the second to last rapid. Just went over a drop, not quite square, and the pack craft sort of pinged up and flipped us out.
It was probably getting quite hot at that stage anyway, was it? You probably
good to have a bit of a freshen up.
I would have thought so too. And that was a quick freshen up before the finish line, was it?
Yeah, so at that point we'd got one rapid to go and then a bike ride to the finish.
Okay, brilliant. So finished her up. One of my key questions was, or your key goals going into it was, we still want to be friends at the finish line. How did that go? What was the sort of rating there? Were you guys all happy at the finish line, or was there a bit of tension there?
Yeah, no, we were good. We definitely all still friends, and I think there's a photo of us all smiling together at the finish. So yeah, definitely achieved that goal. And our other goal was to finish the full course. So it was great to get that ticked off too. Yeah,
good stuff. I actually did give you guys a call. You were driving, heading over the Lindis Pass, or just about to. So I had a quick catch up with all of you in the car. You did seem pretty boisterous and keen at that stage. And I think I encouraged you to stop for a morning tea ice cream, I think, at Marama. Did that end up happening?
We went for a fairly pie instead.
Okay, good. And I'm sure there was a sweet treat alongside that savoury pie, was there?
Yeah, we'd actually still got some brownie that Liam had made pre-race, so we were enjoying that in the car on the way home too.
Okay. Oh, well done. It's good. It's done well to let that brownie last that long and still want to eat it. You've done very well. So where does that leave you now? Like, what were the sort of key highlights for you? Obviously, that paddle. Yeah,
the paddle was amazing. Definitely, keen to get out on the pack craft and explore some more rivers and do some things there. Yeah, nice. And a question that I've got that I always ask people on this particular version of our podcast is our cooked toast. How cooked were you at the end of it? Were you number 1, burnt, or were you actually? I'm just sort of getting started here. Number 9. Where would you say? Oh, reasonably cooked. that last bike leg, Andy was sat on the front and we were probably doing over 35 k's an hour on the bikes.
Oh, Andy, what's he doing?
The impressive thing there was Andy was towing Steve at the time, and it was all Liam and I could do not to get dropped off the back.
Okay.
So at the end of that bike leg, I was probably a number 2.
Okay, right. But, so that's what we want. We want to not you're pretty cocked, aren't you? Let's be honest. You don't want to leave you in the toaster for too much longer. No, that's good. So is there anything more on the cards? Is adventure racing something you're going to do more of?
So I'm pretty keen for Kaikoura, which is April. Just waiting to hear whether I've got any teammates yet. And we decided we'd all just sort of take a week to call off and think about things before we commit to anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Liam and I have also entered the Magnificent, which is this time next year, with a couple of other friends, which will be really big challenge, because that'll be more like 6-7 days.
That's a big multi-day adventure race. Yeah, cool.
Something big to work for.
Fantastic. And what's one or two learnings that you took out of this that you might sort of use going forward for yourself or to share with others?
For us as a team, we had a few key areas. The first one's probably brushing up on our navigation. There were several stages of the race where if we'd made some slightly better choices, we could have saved ourselves some time without really using any more energy, or actually probably using less energy. So that was one big learning, and one that we're keen to work on. I think we probably could have tidied up our transitions a little bit, particularly just streamlining things and being maybe a little bit more organized pre-race to make sure that in the middle of the night it's easy and you can still get in and out of there reasonably quickly.
But you've got to do that, don't you? You've got to experience that to be able to learn about what actually you need and what you don't need.
Absolutely. I think going into the race, it kind of went as well as we could have hoped for, considering the lack of experience. That none of the team had done a 48-hour race before. So, we all had a lot to learn. And I think probably a little bit on the nutrition thing as well. For a couple of the team, maybe actually dialing the nutrition back and taking slightly less in. And then, just more savoury options and just probably some improvements to keep making there.
Yeah, good stuff. No, that's fantastic. That's awesome. And how did the body finish up? Are you in one piece? Hamstring's good? Wrist's good?
Yep. No, hand was definitely tired by the end of the race, but still in one piece. And recovering well, and made it out on the bike last night. So it was still moving, although probably a bit slower than normal.
We'll give you a little bit of a chance to kind of catch up with yourself. But no, that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story, Alice. Well done for getting out and having a crack at that True West Adventure Race. It's a great way to kind of, I guess it's an intermediate step from your row gains through to your sort of 24-hour races to sort of that next step. Obviously, the True West have other shorter options too, but pretty cool to kind of go into that second day where sleep is a thing, but it's not so much that you really have to manage your sleep strategy so much, which is quite nice and hopefully still useful humans at the end of it rather than completely broken.
Yeah, no, it was an awesome race, and I think the team that put it on do an amazing job and found some awesome scenery for us to explore. So it was really cool event. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, but also the other thing is well done on getting out and doing the Hefe solo and figuring out where the deer are in Lewis Pass, etc. You did really well with that too. So well done, and it's been super fun to work with you, and all the best for your recovery and lining up the next adventure.
Cool. Thanks, Richard.
Good job. Well done. Thanks, Alice.
Cheers.